Germany's Rheinmetall had the inside track, an existing billion-dollar contract, a new facility on Australian soil, and the kind of local supplier network nobody could match. But in July 2023, against every prediction, a Korean outsider snatched victory in Australia's largest ever land defense project. How did Hanwha's Redback overturn the sure-thing result everyone expected? The answer reveals what really decides billion-dollar defense deals and why the most powerful often lose. In 2018, the Australian Army set out to overhaul its armored fighting vehicle fleet, a decision shaped by the realities of a changing region and the lessons of past conflicts. The backbone of Australia's mechanized forces, the M113 armored personnel carriers, had served since the Vietnam War. Decades of upgrades could not disguise their origins in the 1960s. The Army needed a new generation of vehicles, able to withstand modern threats and operate across the vast, varied terrain of the continent and its northern approaches. This was not a routine equipment update. The government committed between 18 billion and 27 billion Australian dollars to the Land 400 Phase 3 program, making it the largest army acquisition in the nation's history. The goal was to replace nearly 450 aging M113 armored personnel carriers with state-of-the-art infantry fighting vehicles, plus specialized support vehicles to give soldiers the protection, firepower, and mobility demanded by contemporary warfare. The scale of the investment drew attention well beyond Australia's borders. Defense companies from around the world recognized that winning this contract would mean more than just business. It would shape the future of Australia's land forces and set a benchmark for military modernization across the Indo-Pacific. The vehicles chosen would not only need to survive mines, anti-tank missiles, and ambushes, but also integrate seamlessly with high-tech sensors, digital command networks, and joint operations with allies. For Australian Army planners, the stakes were clear. The next generation of vehicles would need to protect troops against threats far more lethal than those faced in the past. Survivability, lethality, and adaptability became the guiding principles. Every detail, from armor thickness to crew ergonomics, would be tested against the harshest conditions Australia could throw at them. With billions on the line and the future of the Army at stake, the competition quickly became a proving ground for the world's best military vehicle makers. The decision would not just replace old steel with new, it would signal how Australia intended to defend itself in a rapidly shifting strategic environment. The contest set the stage for a global battle between established giants and ambitious challengers, each determined to claim the prize of Australia's trust and investment. Rheinmetall entered the competition with every advantage an incumbent could muster. The company had just delivered a major win for Australia in 2018, securing the Land 400 Phase 2 contract for 211 Boxer combat reconnaissance vehicles, a project worth over 5 billion Australian dollars. To anchor its presence, Rheinmetall invested close to $50 million building the Military Vehicle Center of Excellence in Brisbane. This sprawling facility wasn't just a factory. It became a hub for engineering, assembly, and testing, designed specifically to serve Australia's armored vehicle needs for decades to come. Rheinmetall's approach went far beyond bricks and mortar. The company wove itself into the fabric of Australian industry, forging supply partnerships that stretched across 3 states. Alternators came from Albury in New South Wales, running gear was sourced from Adelaide in South Australia, and electrical systems were manufactured in Melbourne, Victoria. Dozens of small and medium Australian businesses were brought into the fold, giving the project a distinctly local character while supporting hundreds of jobs. This network not only strengthened Rheinmetall's bid, but also made the Lynx KF-41 feel like a vehicle built by Australians for Australians. Internationally, the Lynx had already proven its appeal. In 2020, Hungary placed an order for 218 Lynx vehicles, a deal valued at more than 2 billion euros. That contract sent a clear signal. The Lynx wasn't just a concept or a prototype, but a mature export-ready platform trusted by NATO partners. The Hungarian order gave Rheinmetall a powerful story to tell, one of operational credibility and production capacity on the world stage. Technical advantages added to the momentum. The Lynx's digital lance turret shared its electronic architecture with the Boxer, already in service with the Australian Army. For decision-makers, This meant easier integration, streamlined training, and fewer surprises during maintenance. Rheinmetall's record in the earlier risk mitigation activity for the Boxer was still fresh in the minds of Australian officials. Those trials had set a global benchmark for armored vehicle evaluation, and Rheinmetall's ability to meet or exceed those standards made them the safe, logical choice for Phase 3. With deep roots in Australia, a proven supply chain, fresh export validation, and a platform tailored to Army requirements, Rheinmetall appeared to have locked in its position as the favorite. All signs pointed toward a repeat victory until the trials began to reveal a different story. Australian soldiers became the ultimate judges in the risk mitigation activity trials, a 2-year process that tested every promise on paper against the realities of combat. Beginning in late 2019, 3 vehicles from each contender, the Lynx KF-41 and the AS-21 Redback, were delivered for a grueling evaluation. The trials unfolded across some of the country's most demanding military proving grounds, including the Pukapunyal military area. Soldiers put both vehicles through live-fire exercises, obstacle courses, and mine blast scenarios designed to simulate the worst threats they might encounter in the field. The process was exhaustive by design. Evaluation teams measured not just firepower and armor, but also how each vehicle handled Australia's punishing terrain, including rocky riverbeds, deep sand, and thick bush. Crews spent hours inside, gauging ride comfort, visibility, and the strain of long missions. Maintenance teams assessed how quickly faults could be fixed under pressure. Every system, from digital sensors to suspension units, faced scrutiny under real-world conditions. Throughout the trials, feedback was collected directly from the soldiers who would one day rely on these machines for their lives. Reports from the period describe both vehicles as meeting defense's baseline requirements, but subtle differences began to stand out. The Redback's smoother ride and advanced protection systems drew praise for reducing crew fatigue and boosting confidence during simulated attacks. The official outcome described both as suitable. The Redback edged ahead because its performance in blast protection and crew survivability resonated with those at the controls. The evidence from these trials became a decisive factor as the competition moved into its next phase, where engineering details and industrial commitments would be weighed against the soldiers' lived experience. Protection levels set the contenders apart. Hanwha's Redback arrived with STANAG 4569 Level 6 armor as standard, offering all-around defense against 30mm armor-piercing rounds. Rheinmetall's Lynx, by contrast, featured Level 5 protection in its baseline configuration, with upgrades available only as optional extras. For Australian planners facing the specter of modern anti-tank threats, this distinction mattered. The Redback's Elbit Iron Fist active protection system came factory-installed on every vehicle, ready to intercept incoming missiles and rocket-propelled grenades. The Lynx offered active protection as an add-on, not as part of the core package. Weapon systems became another decisive factor. The Redback integrated a Northrop Grumman Bushmaster 30mm cannon, paired with an EOS T-2000 unmanned turret, advanced Elbit sensors, and Raphael Spike LR-2 anti-tank missiles. This suite delivered both firepower and digital integration, supporting Australia's future networked battlefield. Powering the Redback, a German-built MTU 1000 horsepower engine reflected a best-of-breed approach, selecting components from global leaders rather than relying solely on domestic suppliers. Contract terms tipped the balance further. Hanwha committed to building a dedicated production facility in Geelong, Victoria, rather than sharing space with other projects. 60% of the vehicle's value would be sourced from Australian suppliers, including ANCA for suspension, Elphinstone for machining, CBG for signature reduction, and LEAP for vehicle management. The deal included a 5-year support package and promised the first vehicles on Australian soil by early 2027, outpacing Rheinmetall's proposed timeline. On July 26, 2023 media reports confirmed Hanwha as the preferred bidder. The decision was finalized in December with a contract valued between 5 and 7 billion Australian dollars for 129 Redbacks. For Hanwha's engineers and Australia's defense officials, the verdict was clear. Technical edge, local partnership, and delivery speed had carried the day. Today, defense giants face a new reality. Innovation and partnership now outpace legacy advantage. As Western militaries seek faster, smarter solutions, Korea's rise signals a global shift. No incumbent is untouchable. In every contract, the future belongs to those willing to rewrite the rules. What do you think comes next?